What's going on, Tiger Nation? It's the Bayou Bengal back, bringing you some more Infinite Warfare gameplay. Today I want to talk a little bit about the score streaks in Infinite Warfare and let you guys know what's worth it and what's not, what needs a buff, and what streaks are just fine where they are. Spoiler alert, there will be more score streaks that need a buff than there are ones that function well enough for the amount of points that you need to earn them. But if you guys have played multiplayer already, you already know this. I also want to take this time to thank Thunder for letting me upload to his channel and for helping small YouTubers get going with his channel. So without any further ado, let's get started. Alright, the first streak that I want to talk about is the UAV. Now the UAV in this game is 400 points to earn, or about 4 kills in team deathmatch. I think this is a good amount of points for a UAV, but I also think that it's really not worth running anyway. The reason being is that Ghost is the most overused perk in this game, and there are going to be games of, let's just go with the ground war. There's going to be 9 people on the enemy team, and about 6 of them are going to have Ghost. There's going to be some games like that. So I just feel like it's not worth using, just because it gives you a false sense of confidence when you're running and gunning. I would say to just let your teammates run the UAV, and then try to predict spawns from there, and sort of predict where they're going to be. There's not really any way to buff the streak, but I think nerfing Ghost will help, so we'll just have to see what Infinity Ward decides to do. Moving on to the next score streak, it's the Scarab. In my opinion, this is the most annoying streak in the game. For those that haven't played Infinite Warfare, it's just the RC car from the Black Ops games. It takes about 450 points to earn, and the reason I find it so annoying is because I don't think there's a timer on it anymore, you know. There was a game where the Scarab followed me around for like a good 2 minutes or so, and right when I thought I was safe, it ended up killing me, so that's a little bit annoying. I remember in the first Black Ops, the timer was like 30 to 45 seconds, and if you didn't find anybody, that it just blew up anyway. And I think it needs to be that way again, and the reason that I don't think that it's a streak worth running myself, it just takes me out of the fight for too long, and the amount of time that it takes for you to control the RC car and get 1 kill, maybe more if you're lucky, you could have gotten 5 or 6 kills with your gun. It's just not a practical streak to use in my opinion. Alright, so moving on to the next one, it's going to be the drone package or the care package. I haven't really used the care package in this game too much, but it takes 550 points to get, and I think this streak is fine where it is. There's not really much I have to say about it because it functions the same as it does in every other Call of Duty. You roll a dice, maybe you get a high streak, maybe you'll just get a UAV or a low streak. In terms of its practicality, I would only use this streak if I was playing for fun. Again, it takes you out of the fight too long when you have to wait for the package to drop and find out if it's a good package or not. But nonetheless, I think it's a good streak for the amount of points that you need to earn it, and in terms of your chances of getting a good streak out of it. Moving on to the counter UAV. Counter UAV in this game takes 600 points to earn, and I think that's a fair amount of points. I don't think it's overpowered, don't think it's underpowered. I do think that it's better to use than the regular UAV though. The reason I don't run it is because most of the time I use Ghost and a silencer, so it's not very beneficial to me. Very rarely, I mean, I have a few classes where I have Ghost and I don't have a silencer, so in those cases it would benefit me to run the counter UAV. But most of the time, I don't need it. But if you want to go loud and you're tired of using Ghost, then this is a streak for you. The next streak is where we get into the fun part of the list. It's the Vulture. Now, if you guys don't remember the shitty little score streak from Ghost a few years back called the Vulture, well, it's here to give you some deja vu because it's back and it's even worse in this game. It costs 700 points to earn, and in my honest opinion, it should cost less than the Scarab for how little it actually does. I can't tell you guys how many times this thing has watched me die over and over again in the same spot and not gotten a single kill. All it's done is just buzz around in my ear for the few minutes that it's around before it blows up. The 700 points it takes to earn it is an absolute joke. I remember when 7 kills got you a Harrier strike that bombed a part of the map and then stuck around like an attack helicopter to get you even more kills. I don't know where those streak ideas went, but we need to get more like that. People have wanted the Harriers to make a return to Call of Duty ever since Modern Warfare 3 came out. But I'm sure Activision and Infinity Ward had too much money in their ears to listen to us anyway. But that's neither here nor there. Anyway, getting back to the review, in terms of its practicality, I would never use this streak until they hopefully buff it. It's borderline almost completely useless, and I would definitely rather spend that score streak slot on something better. Moving on to the Trinity Rocket. Again, this is just a reskin from the Ghost game. It costs 750 points to earn, and I think it should be 100 less at 650, honestly. It's not the worst in the game, but it's also not the best. They could definitely buff this streak so that the blast radius is a little bigger on the missiles. But overall, I do like using the streak, and even though it does take you out of the fight for a little while, it's definitely still worth using in my opinion. It definitely does need a buff though. Next is the Scorchers. This is similar to the Napalm Strike from Black Ops 1. I don't know if you guys remember that. And I also think that 800 points is a little too much for as little as the Scorchers do as well. 700 would be a more fair number because they usually get me maybe 1 or 2 kills. And on a good day, they'll get me 3 or more. But I still like using the streak. Again, I think this one also needs to be buffed a little bit to make the blast radius of the laser strafe a little wider. But overall, this is a streak that I run pretty often that I will probably continue to run for a while. Moving on to the next score streak, we're going to be talking about the Bombardment. I think the Bombardment is a fair amount of points at 850 for what it does. They're just missiles that are fired from above on 3 points on the map. It's just a bigger lightning strike from Black Ops 3. Again, I think the streak needs to be buffed because for 850 points, it should be getting you at least 2 kills whenever you use it, and sometimes you don't even get 1. And I think with the Trinity Rocket, the Scorchers, and the Bombardment, they all fall into having the same problem, and it's not necessarily because they're bad streaks or they're not good enough streaks. A lot of these maps are not built for the streaks. There's so much indoor combat that you can't really optimize the amount of kills and the amount of points that you get with these. Take Frost, for example. You'll be lucky to get 1 kill with all 3 of these streaks combined because there's that whole side of the map that's just indoors, and a lot of the time that's where all the action is. So I think that the maps have a lot to do with how these streaks perform. Moving on to the Shock Sentry. This is just a sentry gun from every other Call of Duty, and I've noticed with the sentry gun it's always a toss-up with how good or bad it's going to be. I remember in Black Ops 2 it wasn't the greatest, and then in Advanced Warfare I never really used it too much, but I don't remember it being, amazing. But in Black Ops 3 it was really good. I liked running that a lot. And then in this one, it takes 900 points to earn, and one time that I used it, it made me not want to use it again. Maybe I just got a fluke or something, but it looked like it had hardly any range, and with the way spawns flip in this game, in every game mode, people can just come from behind and hit it with their gun a few times, and there goes your sentry gun, there goes your 900 points. It definitely needs a buff, and in my opinion, it should just be 750 points to earn instead of 900. It's just not worth it to get 900 points all for your sentry gun to be on the field for less than a minute and get maybe 1 or 2 kills. Now, moving on to the Warden, and this is the best streak in the game in my opinion, like hands down. They nailed the amount of points it should take to earn it, and they nailed the AI on it too. It takes 1100 points to earn, and for me it usually gets around 10 to 15 kills. Sometimes it gets even more, and honestly it's so worth it in this game. The only thing that I would change about it is its health. Maybe make it to where it can take 1 more rocket and a little more damage from regular guns. But other than that, this is the most solid streak in the game, and you will never see a gameplay of me not running the Warden. It's honestly the best in the game. Next is going to be the Advanced UAV. Now, I used to not use this at all because it wasn't much different from the regular UAV, and it costs way too much to only have 3 people show up on the radar because of Ghost. But now that it counters Ghost with the recent update, I think I'm going to be using this streak a lot more often. And yeah, it's 1250 points to earn, but I think it's worth it for the sole fact that enemies with Ghost will show up on your radar now. I've gotten shot in the back so many times from people with Ghost, and now that there's a counter, I'm definitely going to be using this more often. I'm not sure if it can be shot down or not, like the VSAT or the Hater, but if not, then that would make it even better. But if it can, I feel like it'd still be a little underpowered. I don't know, that's just my opinion, but overall, now I think it's a pretty decent streak. Alright, so on to the second worst streak in this game, Thor. This costs 1300 points to earn, and it's supposed to function like the AC-130, but it is so not the AC-130. Again, I just have to blame some of this on the maps. Just like with the Scorchers and the Bombardment, this streak isn't going to do much of anything on maps like Frosted Precinct, you know, where all the gunfights are inside and that's where everybody is. However, with all that being said, I still think that this streak needs a big buff. It needs a bigger blast radius on the missiles, maybe an increased fire rate on the missiles, and a ton more health. You can actually shoot a Thor down with one clip from an LMG, if you guys didn't know that. It's pretty sad. But I would not encourage anyone to use this score streak until they buff it. The next streak that we're going to be going over is the RC8, and at 1,450 points, we have what looks like a GI unit combined with a Juggernaut from Modern Warfare 3 to make this RC8. Now, I've only called down one of these things, but before we get into what happens, let me just read the description to you guys that it says on the game. The description is heavily armored C8 with auto and manual control capabilities. Heavily armored. Now, I remember this like it was yesterday. I called this thing down on Throwback, and within 30 seconds or so, it was already blown up. 1,450 points, and it's on the field for 30 seconds and gets 0 kills. Needless to say, this definitely needs to be buffed. It needs better AI control, it needs a lot more health and armor. For 1,450 points, you better be doing some cartwheels after every kill. All kidding aside, I still think that I need to use a streak a little bit more often to see if that one time was just a fluke or not. But after that one, I definitely think that this streak needs a buff. Alright, moving on to the last kill streak. It's called the Apex, or the AP3X. It's 1,550 points, and I actually have not gotten around to using one just yet, and I don't really want to give an opinion on it based on what someone else has experienced. So I'm going to leave this last kill streak for you guys to decide, to review. What do you guys think? Is it any good? Does it need a buff in any way? Let me know down in the comments what you guys think. All that being said, I think it's time to wrap up this score streak review. There's a lot that needs to be buffed, but there's also a few good score streaks. I mean, overall, I know this game has its problems, but I do somewhat enjoy it, even though hating on it is the cool thing to do right now. Yes, like I said, there are problems, but it's a fun game when all's said and done. But anyway, that's going to do it for me. Again, thank you, Thunder. And if you guys enjoyed, please hit that like button, show some love, and subscribe for more content.